coming for today's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class and for making me feel at home in Srila Prabhupada's place in Berlin. And of course, the big bosses are Lord Jagannath, Lord Baladev, and Srimati Subhadra Devi, and Sri Sri Gaura Nitai are also pushing the mission. So today we are reading from the second Canto, chapter 2, The Lord in the Heart, text number 36. Do you repeat responsively or only the speaker reads the verse? You repeat, okay. Yes, nowadays everybody has not everybody, but many have the devices. You have the Bhagavatam in your pocket. But it's more important to have it in the heart than in the pocket. It can be in the pocket. If we don't open it, no use. But if we open it, then can enter into the heart. So 2:36. It's a very important verse which concludes, together with the next verse, is the conclusion of the chapter. Tasmat sarvatmana rajan Hari sarvatra sarvada Shrutavya kirtitavyascha Smartavyo Bhagavan Rinam Tasmat sarvatmana rajan Hari sarvatra sarvada Shrutavya kirtitavyascha Smartavyo Bhagavan Rinam Tasmat sarvatmana rajan Hari sarvatra sarvada Shrutavya kirtitavyascha Smartavyo Bhagavan Rinam Tasmat sarvatmana rajan Hari sarvatra sarvada Shrutavya kirtitavyascha Smartavyo Bhagavan Rinam Tasmat sarvatmana rajan Hari sarvatra sarvada Shrutavya kirtitavyascha Smartavyo Bhagavan Rinam. Vaishnavis. Tasmat sarvatmana rajan Hari sarvatra sarvada Shrutavya kirtitavyascha Smartavyo Bhagavan Rinam. Okay. Srila Prabhupada's translation and purport. Tasmat, therefore, sarva, all, atmana, soul, rajan, O king, Hari, the Lord, sarvatra, everywhere, sarvada, always, Shrutavya, must be heard. Kirtitavya, glorified. Cha, also. Smartavya, be remembered. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Narinam, by the human being. O King, it is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, always and everywhere. If you like to repeat it, O King, it is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, always and everywhere. Purport. Srila Shukadeva Goswami begins this verse with the word tasmat, or therefore, because in the previous verse he has already explained that there is no auspicious means for salvation other than the sublime process of Bhakti Yoga. The Bhakti Yoga process is practiced by the devotees in different methods like hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, worshipping, praying, rendering service in love, becoming friendly, and offering all that one may possess. All 9 methods are bona fide methods, and either all of them, some of them, or even one of them can bring about the desired result for the sincere devotee. But out of all the 9 different methods, the first one, namely hearing, is the most important function in the process of Bhakti Yoga. Without hearing sufficiently and properly, no one can make any progress by any of the methods of practice. And for hearing only, all the Vedic literatures are there, compiled by authorized persons like Vyasadeva, who is the powerful incarnation of Godhead. And since it has been ascertained that the Lord is the super soul of everything, he should therefore be heard and glorified everywhere and always. That is the special duty of the human being. When the human being gives up the process of hearing about the all-pervading personality of Godhead, he becomes victim to hearing rubbish transmitted by man-made machines. So this seems to be like a prediction of the internet, isn't it? Before was the TV in Prabhupada's times, but now the man-made machines are these devices we use. We have it in the pocket, the device, and it's practically not like the super soul, but trying to compete with the super soul by being everywhere. The super soul is more powerful, but these machines try to compete with the super soul. Machinery is not bad, because through the machine one can take advantage of hearing about the Lord. Like now you have in your hand the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam you are reading. So it's very good actually that we have all this technology that can be used in Krishna's service. But because machinery is used for ulterior purposes, it is creating rapid degradation in the standard of human civilization. It is said here that it is incumbent upon the human beings to hear because the scriptures like Bhagavad-Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam are made for that purpose. Living beings, other than human beings, have no ability to hear such Vedic literatures. If human society gives itself to the process of hearing the Vedic literature, it will not become a victim to the impious sounds vibrated by impious men who degrade the standard of the total society. Hearing is solidified by the process of chanting. One who has perfectly heard from the perfect source becomes convinced about the all-pervading personality of Godhead, and thus becomes enthusiastic in glorifying the Lord. All the great acharyas like Ramanuja, Madhva, Chaitanya, Sarasvati Thakur, or even in other countries, Muhammad, Christ, and others, have all extensively glorified the Lord by chanting always and in every place. Because the Lord is all-pervading, it is essential to glorify Him always and everywhere. In the process of glorifying the Lord, there should be no restriction of time and space. This is called Sanatana Dharma or Bhagavata Dharma. Sanatana means eternal, always and everywhere. Bhagavata means pertaining to Bhagavan, the Lord. The Lord is the master of all time and all the space, and therefore the Lord's holy name must be heard, glorified, and remembered everywhere in the world. That will bring about the desired peace and prosperity so eagerly awaited by the people of the world. The word cha includes all the remaining processes or methods of bhakti yoga, as mentioned above. Tasmat sarvatmana rajan harik sarvatra sarvada shrotavyak kirtitavyascha smartavyo bhagavan narinam. O King, it is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, always and everywhere. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini. Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat-Yadesha Tarini. the instruction we receive in this verse is particularly important for the contemporary times, for the present times, because we have too many distractions. We have too many distractions, which are also destructive. Distractions are destruction, cause destruction also. So we have too many distractions, and especially we were hearing about the machines, the devices that everybody is carrying. Sometimes we have this it is caricaturized that people go like this all the time on the street, and everybody is falling into a ditch, isn't it? We are looking only, we don't see anything else. If we will be as fixed on Krishna as we are with our machines, we will go back home, back to Godhead very quickly. We'll become purified so quickly from all our impure reactions that we will go back very, very soon. Isn't it? It's like that. So, and unfortunately what happens is that most of the time, as Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, what we are reading, maybe you not, but the tendency in this world is to waste time and to read rubbish, isn't it? We read many superficial things. Even nowadays with all the social networks and the news, which are, you can get them for free, just clicking. Of course, many want to charge, but you can just click and get the news somewhere. So much time is misused or it's consumed in some superficial news, even sometimes in the devotee world. Of course, when we read about what's happening in one place or another, if it is inspiring for our devotional service in terms of what devotees are doing, that's okay, but we should not overdo it, because if we have time to read this social devotional news, but we don't read the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, what is the point? We are setting up the priorities in a reverse mode, and the outcome will not be the desired result. Therefore, it is good to assign some daily time for hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam or for reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And also the devices can, as Srila Prabhupada mentions here, if they are used wisely, can be very helpful for that. I remember during the pandemic, the COVID 2 years or whatever time it was, I remember that it was highly useful to have all these devices and be able to listen to lectures, isn't it? Those who couldn't go out, I was lucky, I was in New Brajamandala. New Brajamandala has 300 hectares, so you could go out in work into the forest and go to see the cows. It was a special gift by Krishna. But those devotees who were in the cities, those of you who were here in Berlin, I don't know how it was here. Anyone was here during COVID era? How it was? You could go out or not?
Yes, you could go out, but the programs were very restricted here in the temple. There were hobby programs, and you had to, because over there is the police, and they were coming because they know that sometimes there is programs, and we had to make certain distances between the seats, like this.
So the police were coming to check that you were following the rules of the health ministry,
Especially
whatever.
in Germany, it was very restrictive.
Mm.
Like they not only made the rules and regulations, but they also controlled,
So for those who couldn't come to the temple, I imagine that internet was very useful to listen to lectures. Even if they were recorded lectures, spoken previously, but the Bhagavatam is eternal and the message doesn't diminish. So you can hear it again and again and again and always get new juice by hearing even the same class. You can get the new juice by such hearing, isn't it? I remember sometimes I was also, and I do it sometimes whenever possible. I didn't listen to a class because I had service or sometimes traveling, whatever. And then even while taking prasadam or taking breakfast, taking lunch, you can be listening or watching even, listening or watching to a lecture. It is not exactly the same as life. Life is better because then it's more closer. But still the message is so transcendental that certainly it's very powerful. And Srila Prabhupada knew that. And since the very beginning, we are very lucky that Srila Prabhupada thought of the future generations, and he was recording his early lectures in 1966, 65, 66. So Srila Prabhupada knew this is the power of transcendental sound. And these materialistic people created these machines for material purposes, but let's make them into transcendental energy by using them for recording transcendental sound, so that it will be useful as long as now we have it for practically speaking, more than 50 years. We have all of these Srila Prabhupada's lectures. And this may last for, who knows, maybe centuries, we don't know. I mean, we don't know if everything will collapse, or we know that everything will collapse, but we don't know when. Yeah, because the law of the material world is that everything collapses. That's the law of matter. Everything has a beginning and an end. How is that verse? Yatasya idruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha. For everyone and everything that is born, there is death. And for everything that is destroyed, there is a new beginning again. That's the nature of this material world. So, for instance, even matter, dead matter, when something is, for instance, burned, if we burn wood, we get ashes. But then the ashes are also recycled. Sometimes the ashes are used to produce cleaning products. They are very, very powerful. I don't know how you call it in English, but in lejía in Spanish, how you call lejía in English. Anyway, it's a very powerful disinfectant for cleaning the floor and very strong. All the bacteria are destroyed with this product. And this can be fabricated with ashes, or it can be used for contributing to nourishing the soil. In agriculture, like natural agriculture, here you have many bioagriculture. So ashes can be very, very usable. So in this way, matter can be, it always has new beginning. I think that was Isaac Newton who said it, that energy is not created nor destroyed, but it is transformed. And this is actually, especially for material energy, but in spiritual energy, we read also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have the Parinama Vada, or the doctrine of the transformation of the divine energy. So the Lord also expands himself and manifests many beautiful pastimes. So it seems that Newton, by the inspiration of the super soul, was able to come to a certain extent to some level of realization that energy is not destroyed, but it is transformed. So this is the law of material nature. But always there is there is a beginning, and then there is diminishing, a new beginning, diminishing. This is the law of matter, especially. The transcendental energy is dynamic. It becomes transformed, but in a different way, in a way which is not degraded, in a way that doesn't diminish. So it is transformed for the sake of producing Ananda. Ananda Maya Vyasat, the Vedanta Sutra states. Ananda, transcendental divine happiness, becomes expanded again and again by the power of the Svarup Shakti, or the transcendental Shakti, the transcendental potency of Krishna, of God. So hearing about the Lord is most important. And as we were saying, we need to every day give some quality time to hear about Krishna. Whether it is live, if possible, whether it is recorded, or we can also read it. It can be silent hearing. Yeah, this is confirming that actually it is an emergency. We should hear. It's emergency. If we don't hear about Krishna, we are doomed. So every day we should hear about Krishna, and we should take into account that whatever sounds we hear in the material world are there to stimulate, to help us to remember that this is not the real sound. The material sound is meant to help us to wake up. This is not real. It's like hearing when somebody tries to, like, you take the pots of the kitchen and start banging the pots. That's not good music. Of course, there are some expert people who may be able to take even tubes, and I have seen in Madrid, when we go on Harinam, sometimes some people get together and they have some tubes and they play music with it. Very expert, but this is extraordinary. Usually when we bang the pots or the metal tubes, you don't get good music. But actually, we feel, oh, that's very bad sound. We like to hear sweet or melodious, or at least even if it's intense music, a music which makes us feel happy according to our taste. So similarly, when we hear material messages, we should remember that this sounds like the banging of the pots in the kitchen. It's not so pleasing. And the pastimes of Krishna, the name of Krishna, the form of Krishna, the qualities of Krishna, the transcendental activities of Krishna, Lila, Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila, all these are melodious. It is mentioned that Sri Shukadeva Goswami became attracted by the melodious pastimes of Krishna. It is known as Ruchira. Ruchira means very sweet, very melodious. And Maharaj Pariksit, therefore, also became enchanted. Even at the time of death, he was about to die, but he was able to hear until the last time, the last moment. When he had heard the full Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, he offered obeisances to Sri Shukadeva Goswami and said, okay, now I can die in peace. So it's important that we hear again and again the transcendental messages of Krishna. When we hear about Krishna, then naturally we can speak, we can chant about Krishna. And when we hear and chant about Krishna, we can remember Krishna in a natural way. Because normally we're able to remember those things we are hearing about and we are speaking about. And therefore, the lesson of today's verse is that every day we should take quality time, first for hearing about Krishna, and then for chanting and remembering Him. And Srila Prabhupada says, also we can practice all the other processes of devotional service, like worshipping the Lord by offering incense, flowers, lamps, foodstuff, prepared with love and devotion by the devotees. So in this way we can engage all our senses in serving the Lord by making garlands for the Lord, like some of you are doing now. And in this way, so many services can be performed, and we engage each and every part of ourselves in the service of Krishna. Even if we theoretically know we are not the body, but still, because we have a material body, most of us have a tendency to a greater or lesser extent to identify with the material body. Because we experience pains and pleasures of the body. It is unavoidable. So we tend to identify. Therefore, every part of ourselves in this material identity, we should engage it in the service of Krishna. Like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yat karoshi, yat ashnashi, yat yuhoshi, tadasi yat, yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva matarpanam. Everything you do, everything you offer as a gift, all austerities you perform, everything you eat, you should offer it to me. In this way, we are always connected to Krishna, and we can be experiencing Krishna according to our level of realization, but at the very least we are engaged in connection to Krishna. And therefore this is producing purification of the heart, of the intelligence, and of the senses which are being properly engaged. So this is the process of bhakti, which is very, very easy. It is very accessible to everyone. And Srila Prabhupada came to the West to teach it, and he did it in such a masterfully manner that, like we were saying in the beginning, he recorded the lectures, he published the books, and practically didn't sleep many nights, or sleep very, very, very little, just the essential to give us Krishna. Srila Prabhupada was dictating the Bhaktivedanta purpose, the translations and commentaries of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam at very late hours of the night or very early hours of the morning. Sometimes sleeping from 10 to 12 or 12:30. Sometimes sleeping, maybe maximum to 3-4 hours, maximum, and dictating. I remember I heard from His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj, who was very close to Srila Prabhupada in Mumbai, in Hare Krishna land, the project in ISKCON Juhu. And Maharaj was describing how he had a blessing of traveling with Srila Prabhupada to preach to different places in India. And Srila Prabhupada was having, in one day, his preaching was very, very intense. He had like 5 or 6 programs in houses of devotees. So he will go to the house of, these were Indian people, this was in India, so Indian, pious Indians who were inviting the sadhu to their home to hear about Krishna and to get the blessings of the sadhu. So they will do kirtan, Hari Katha, Krishna Katha, topics of Krishna, more kirtan, and prasadam. Prabhupada will accept prasadam. This will start very early in the morning. In those days, for the period of the tour, visiting the houses of all the life members or potential life members, Prabhupada will do 5 or 6 programs in one day, starting 6-7 o'clock in the morning, kirtan, Krishna Katha, prasadam. Next house, Krishna Kirtan, Krishna Katha, prasadam. Next house, Krishna Kirtan, Krishna Katha, prasadam. I was telling Premananda Gopal Prabhu, I was a bit worried that when he take me to his place, he will want to feed me because I cannot digest so much prasadam. Otherwise, my health gets disturbed, and then I cannot preach. So I was carefully asking him, and luckily he told me, no, you come just to rest, and because otherwise I cannot digest the prasadam in the temple, next prasadam. But Srila Prabhupada, somehow he had this mystic power. He could, for preaching, he could do anything. Sometimes he will eat very, very little, but he will be able to go on or prasadam in so many places. So at the end of the day, after 5 or 6 programs, they will go back to the temple in Juhu or wherever they were based with Srila Prabhupada. And the devotees, Srila Prabhupada's disciples, they were very, very young, in their 20s, but they were totally finished, very, very tired. You can imagine after 12, 14 hours going from place to place, they were very, very tired. So one day, Giriraj Maharaj decided to look through the door, there was like this big hole in the key, what you call it, a keyhole, whatever it's called. And he wanted to see what Srila Prabhupada was doing. And he saw how Srila Prabhupada went into the bathroom. He refreshed himself. He sat. He had this low desk where he was working and translating the books. So he sat. He took the dictaphone, opened the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and started to dictate. This was whatever time it was, 9 in the night. 9 or 9:30. So the young disciples were finished, but the Acharya, he was so keen of giving the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam for our benefit, and he knew the time he had was very little. Very, very little time, because he knew his body was in the 70s, nearly 80s, later on in the 80s. So naturally he wanted to get the most of the time so that we could have the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, all the 10 cantos we have. Before that he gave the Krishna book in case he couldn't finish, predicting he may not finish all the 10th canto verses. So he gave the 90 chapters of the 10th canto in the form of the Krishna book. So this is Srila Prabhupada's mercy, and how important he considered that we will get the benefit of hearing. And because of that, the Krishna consciousness movement is being sustained. So, therefore, we as followers of Srila Prabhupada have the not just the duty, but yes, we have the duty as disciples to do it, but we should have the pleasure of every day reading Srila Prabhupada's books. It is not compulsory in that the devotional service is voluntary. This is something we can choose to do, and this will be our best choice if we choose to every day read Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and the other books, Bhagavad Gita, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion. So many books Srila Prabhupada wrote, dictated for our benefit. And we can, hearing Srila Prabhupada's voice, even in silent format, by reading. And we can listening within our heart to what we are reading. The transcendental sound doesn't depend on material sound. And therefore, even in the written format, enters in our heart. Because this is what Srila Prabhupada was dictating. Of course, if we hear the recorded voice of Srila Prabhupada, that's a plus. It becomes extra. So, and in order to be able to do this, we need to prioritize our day very nicely so that we have some quality time for hearing and or reading the transcendental message of Krishna. And this transcendental message will wake us up fully, and then we will be able to remember Krishna, and then when the time of death comes, whether it is expected or unexpected, death can come in different ways. Sometimes comes that we can see it coming. If we become old and we see it coming, it's happening. Or sometimes we don't expect and can be like this. So if we are remembering Krishna because we have heard sufficiently about him, then naturally we can remember Krishna at the time of death, and then we achieve perfection. Sri Shukadeva Goswami has stated, Etavan Sankhyayo Gapyam Swadharma Parinishtaya Chammalabha Parakpumsa Ante Narayana Smriti, that the highest perfection a human being can achieve in life is not to win the World Cup or whatever. That's not the highest perfection. Or to become, to enter into the list of Forbes, you know this list of Forbes, the millionaires? That's not the highest perfection of life. That's peanuts. That's insignificant. Materialistic people consider it very important, but it's actually very, very insignificant. Any conditioned soul can have access to that by doing some pious karma or whatever. So it's peanuts. But the highest perfection of life is to be able to remember Krishna, Narayana, the personality of Godhead, at the time of death. Ante, at the last moment, if we remember Krishna, then we go back to Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna states, Anta kale chamam eva smaran mukva kalevaram japrayati samat bhavam yati nasti atra samshaya. That the Krishna says that if someone remembers me at the time of death, whoever that person may be, doesn't require any particular qualification. Even a person who is not qualified at all, a person that can be considered the less able person, for instance, to be able to do things with the hands, or the person whose intellect is very dull, doesn't function very well. Sometimes we become, I can see in the body, when the body becomes older, it becomes more slow. Cannot go as fast as in the youth. In the youth, we are very, isn't it? But when we become old, it becomes more slow. And sometimes even the memory tends to go slow. Like the old computer, sometimes, and then we may become impatient because it doesn't come quickly, the message. And sometimes not only doesn't come quickly, but it doesn't come. We just forgot something. As there was this Srila Prabhupada's god brother, His Holiness Bhakti Pramoda Puri Maharaj, he lived for 103 years. So and in his, still there are, when he was 90 plus, he was able to lecture, very dynamic, 90 plus years old. But in the end, the last few years, he was lying down. He was from time to time saying, Hare Krishna. That was he was saying. But the body was finishing, was like a lamp. Externally was diminishing. But his consciousness was pure. Hare Krishna. He was chanting all the time. And one of his disciples told me that the last thing remaining, at the end, you are left only with Shraddha, with faith. Shraddha is synonymous to Bhakti. Bhakti, Shraddha is the seat of Bhakti. So when there is Shraddha, there is Bhakti, naturally. The more Shraddha, the more Bhakti. So Maharaj was saying, it is only you are left with faith. All the verses you may not be able to memorize anymore. Maybe in the youth we learn it, whatever, 100 verses, 50, those who more learn it, 500, whatever verses. Then when it comes the end, the verses you may remember, you may not remember, especially if the body becomes very old. In this case, Puri Maharaj was chanting 90 years old, he was able to remember verses still, but 100 years old was not able to remember verses. And he said, he gave that beautiful instruction that in the end, the only thing left is Shraddha, is pure faith. Faith in what we have heard about Krishna. And of course, whatever, by the mercy of the devotees, by the mercy of the spiritual master, and by the mercy of Krishna, we have been able to experience or to realize to a greater or lesser degree. So this gives us the faith, and then we are able to experience and to remember Krishna in this way. If we do so, ante Narayana Smriti, then we go back home, back to Godhead at the end of the material body. And Krishna says, Atra Nashamshaya. There is no doubt about this. If you remember Krishna at the time of death, you go back to him. You don't have to come back to this material world. And this is possible to achieve with this very accessible process of hearing, chanting, especially hearing and chanting about Krishna. And then we are able to remember Krishna. So this is the process. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. If you like to ask questions or make comments, you are welcome to do so.
You tell us that at the end of the life it's too difficult to concentrate on Krishna. We have this space, and we can't remember shlokas and so on. And I have heard a story that one Mataji, she was after 20 years of practice or even more, she left the body, but it was near-death experience, and she came back. And then she explained that in that moment there was no intelligence, just mind was active in the moment of the death. And was for her very heavy to remember Krishna, because the pain was so strong and she even couldn't remember who is Krishna. But somehow Krishna was helping and other devotees were chanting at them. And my question is, for us in this situation, for example, we try to remember shlokas and reading and so on, but it will not come to us in the moment of the death. Only dear things which is really dear to us will come to that moment. But how can we try to do our best in this situation?
Yes, we are not able to force Krishna in our mind, because Krishna is a person. So we may desire to have Krishna in our heart and mind, but then it's up to Krishna whether he will reveal himself or not. So we can pray, we can do our best. As His Holiness Yadunandana Swami Maharaj says, I'm sure you have heard this more than me, because he spends time in Berlin, so normally he's here. Now it's my misfortune that he's in Switzerland. I cannot go and see him this time. But Maharaj says, you do your best and Krishna will do the rest. You heard that one? Yes. So you do your best and Krishna will do the rest. So that's it. We don't need to worry too much. And sometimes we may worry that, okay, that's fine. But what happens if at the time of death, because I am not so advanced, instead of remembering Krishna, I remember whatever, my pain, my body. I am remembering, oh, what a pain. What happens? We may say that. Or I remember some people have pet animals, isn't it? Pet animals. Even Krishna has pet dog, according to Srila Rupa Goswami. If you can read in Sri Sri Radha Krishna Kanodesh Deepika, all the different pet animals Krishna has. He has the pet dog. So I'm not speaking in favor or against having, but I just say that I will not get into that debate. You can have it here if you wish, but I will not enter into that. So what if I remember my pet animal, the dog, or the bird, or the cat? Then I may take the body of the animal, isn't it? That's what we heard from Bhagavad Gita. Yam yam bhapi smaram bhavam tejati ante kalevaram. Tam tam evaiti kaunteya sadatat bhava bhavitaha. Whatever one remembers at the time of death, or whatever is a state of consciousness, that will be the destination one will achieve. Like in the case of Bharata Maharaj, he took the body of a deer because he became attached to the deer. He was caring for the deer, and he was looking for the deer at the time of death. He died suddenly, and his meditation was on the deer. So that question could be raised. So what happens if at the time of death a devotee does not remember Krishna? And quotes are given from the Varaha Purāṇa. I don't have the exact quote, but I have the quote of that very same question was asked by Sri Ramanujacharya as a disciple to one of his gurus, Mahatma Kanchipurna, who was worshipping in the temple of Kanchi in South India, Kanchipuram. He was worshipping the famous deity of Bharadharaj, the giver of blessings. And Kanchipurna was famous for speaking to the Lord and for getting answers. Of course, everybody who will speak to Krishna, Krishna will give an answer. But he will hear, but directly, Bharadharaj's voice. Whatever, but he will hear the voice. Even if in the heart, it will be like a very clear voice. Sometimes in the material world, we hear voices, isn't it? I remember there was one person who was committing sinful activities and went for psychotherapy because couldn't help it, and one didn't want to commit those sinful activities, but there was a voice telling him, do it, do it, do it, whatever nonsense he was doing. And he couldn't help it. So this was the voice. Whatever it was, whether it was the voice of the materialistic mind, the voice of Maya, the Maya energy, or the voice of a ghost. Sometimes ghosts are there and haunting people. And the ghost was saying, do it, do it, do it. And the person couldn't help it and will feel like forced to act. So, as in the material world, we may hear voices. In this case, Mahatma Kanchipurna was hearing the voice of the Lord, but very pure. The voice of the Lord is different. When someone hears the voice of God, he or she knows there's the voice of God. That's very clear. He was hearing. So he went to the Lord and posed the question his capable disciple had asked him. Because Sri Ramanuja said, my master, what happens if a devotee doesn't remember Krishna at the time of death? Very similar to your question. What will happen to that devotee? And then Kanchipurna said, let me ask the Lord and let him reply. I don't know so well. Let the Lord reply. So he asked the question to the Lord, and then he came back. And then he told Sri Ramanuja that, Ramanuja, the Lord says that if my devotee does not remember me at the time of death, if my devotee forgets me, I will never forget my devotee. I will remember him at the time of death. So we should keep this in mind. So we are always protected by Krishna. Krishna never forgets the devotional service a devotee has offered to him, even if very little. What to speak of devotees who perform tons of service. Every day you are offering Krishna. You are chanting for Krishna. You are hearing about Krishna. You are offering a service to Krishna. So naturally, you will not forget. Krishna will not forget you, even if by chance what? Or by destiny, by distraction, by vulnerability that we have, as tiny souls we are. Even if we forget Krishna, Krishna is there to appear in the heart of the devotee and to take back that devotee, or at least to accompany him to the next destination in which the devotee will be able to perform more service with a happy heart, will be able to continue devotional service and to reconnect wherever he or she left out in the previous lifetime. So it's important to keep this in mind. Then we feel okay, we feel safe. There is no need to be fearful. The process of devotional service, especially the chanting of Krishna's holy names, is Ichatam Akuto Bhayam. Akuto Bhayam means free from fear. We don't need to be fearful. Okay, sometimes out of natural concern, we may be fearful of Maya, and that's okay, that's healthy, to don't take it for granted. To be a little fearful of Maya, it's okay, it's fine. But the process in itself, Krishna says in the Gita, Susukam Kartumabhyayam. It's a very blissful process. It's not meant to stir fear in the heart of the devotee. Krishna doesn't like that type of devotional service. It's like a child being fearful of the parents. Mother, father, can I eat? The mother would say, come, eat. I'll feed you. Isn't it? And I'll feed you. You don't have to worry. I have heard sometimes in Indian families that's sometimes even the grown-up son is fed up by the mother, isn't it? With her own hands. Sometimes, isn't it? Mothers like to do that. So come on, I'll feed you. You don't need to worry. If a child is fearful asking for food, something is wrong in that house. What type of true religion is that you are fearful of God? We are fearful because we are attached. So we are still holding to something, and therefore we are fearful. I may lose something. So give up. How you say? Suelta, ¿cómo se dice suelta? left off. Let go. Yeah, let go. Yes, that's it. Let go. And nowadays, all this, and here in Germany there are many these alternative groups, not only yoga, but New Age and all these things. Let go. You let go. Don't hold to Krishna. Let go. And give it to Krishna. Give it to Jagannath. He will take care. Whatever problem you come to Jagannath, just Lord Jagannath, I don't know what to do. Please, you know, because I cannot sort it out. This. I'm confused. Don't know what to do. Sometimes you feel like that in life. Some problem, something you want to sort it out, you cannot. So then, okay, come to Krishna, talk to Krishna. And he's happy you come and talk to him. Especially Lord Jagannath is very active. You are very lucky to have Lord Jagannath here. Any other questions or comments?
Is it faith, free will, or given by Krishna? So to what extent are we free to have faith?
Yeah, it is actually both. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yayatamam prapadyante tamstataiva bhajamyaham mama varmanu vartante manusya partha sarvashaha. As they surrender unto me, I correspond. So, if you want to have faith in God, even if we don't have, or I don't have, or anyone doesn't have, if that person wants to have, Krishna will give faith to him. I remember my Sankirtan leader, Param Purusha Prabhu, very, very nice devotee. He left this world quite a number of years back. He was much elder than we were. He had been working for the Emirates. He was a professional designer, so he will go to the embassies in Syria, Saudi Arabia, Jordania, all these places, and decorate the embassies. He was very capable, professional man. But he left everything and went to live to the temple, and then was doing book distribution for some years. He sacrificed a lot for Srila Prabhupada's mission. And he told me his story before he met the devotees. And he was feeling trapped in the materialistic type of life he was living. He felt trapped. And at some point he was so desperate that one day he didn't know about Krishna, but he started to pray to God. He was so desperate, and he was pious. Because he was pious, he had some faith in God. So Krishna reciprocated with him. One day in his room, he put his head on the floor and started to cry out to God, practically speaking, crying. God, Lord, whoever you may be, if it is something, please help me out. Please reveal it to me. So he didn't know. He didn't know Krishna. He didn't know who God was, but he had a little faith that there was someone, there was something. There must be someone superior. He was praying to that higher person, higher power, whoever it was. And then shortly after he met the devotees, and then he became, the rest is transcendental history. He connected and he became a committed devotee, and he left this world with devotees surrounding him in his deathbed, next to the temple hall in New Brajamandala, like at the entrance of the temple. He could see the deities from the entrance. He had a bed there. He was seeing and the devotees were doing kirtan, and he left very, very peacefully, very happily. So most probably he was able to remember Krishna. The devotees were there with him. So it is actually both. It is the desire of the soul, and it is the reciprocation of Krishna towards the soul. And Krishna is more eager than we are to take us back home, back to him. So he may do different plans to increase our faith. And the most common way how Krishna becomes manifest for conditioned souls to increase their faith, so in that sense Krishna is giving more than we are asking for. So we need to ask, but also Krishna is giving, and Krishna is so generous, he will give more than we ask for. So the most common way, not so common, but is most common than other ways, he comes in the form of the devotees. So Krishna is living in the heart of his devotees, and because devotees have Krishna within their hearts, so they speak about Krishna to people they meet. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada explains that faith comes from sadhu sangha, devotee association. When we associate with devotees, we get faith. Even if we have very little, or we have none, Krishna reveals himself through the bhakti of his devotees, or the faith his devotees have. Krishna gives the power of attorney to the devotees. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur says, not only the Uttamadhikaris, but also Madhyamadhikaris, even Kanishtadhikaris, who are engaged in the mission, also contribute for the benefit of other souls. So, and this is how the mercy of Krishna comes, and faith and bhakti descends through the pure devotees, the most common way of getting faith. Some of us didn't have faith, but because we heard from the devotees, then we develop some faith. And then like that, it increases.
From tomorrow, Chaturmasya is starting. So can you share why it is important to follow, and why specific items are restricted for that particular month?
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada talks about it in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. There is a purport on that. And Srila Prabhupada doesn't explain many details. It's just a small austerity we do for the pleasure of Krishna. In this case, we can do it for the pleasure of Lord Jagannath. And then there is the first month is the fasting of green leaves, vegetables. Green leaves.
Can you elaborate green leaves, because there are many things in green, so coriander, also spinach, it's prohibited, but also salad, is it allowed or not? Coriander,
I'm not an expert in exactly which green leaves. For sure, spinach, all kinds of spinach. That's for sure. About raw, salad, it's also green. So if you want to be strict, you can play safe. You can make salad with tomato and cucumber and carrot. There are so many olives. You can make good salads. Avocado, it's also green, but no leaf. So you can. So if you want to follow strictly, I will recommend to to do it. And Srila Prabhupada recommends to do it. And so sometimes when we travel it's not so easy. I would like to check, let me see if I can find on the database the verse and read Srila Prabhupada's words on Chaturmasya. Traditionally, this is connected to the 4 months of the rainy season in India. During that period, the sages and pilgrims will stop traveling because it's dangerous due to the floods sometimes. So they will stop in one place and they will practice penances. So the penances could be greater or lesser according to their tradition or their guru and so on. And we follow this because Srila Prabhupada recommended them. These Gaudiya Vaishnavas are generally follow these 4. So 1 month fasting from green leaves, 1 month from yogurt, 1 month from milk, 1 month from urad dal. It's not too difficult, Prabhupada says. Let me find the database, if I may. Lord Jagannath allows. Let us see with Chaturmasya fasting what comes. Should I write fast or fasting? Fasting, okay. Okay, there are several verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Let us see. Okay, here it is not. You can help me to find it, maybe those of you who have devices.
It's in Madhya Lila, chapter 4, 169.
Chapter 4, 169, okay. Madhya Lila. And it's the purport is there? You have it? Okay, if you will leave me then. Thank you very much.
Is this you were talking about?
You found it now? Or yeah, okay, thank you. Srila Prabhupada writes, the Chaturmasya period begins in the month of Ashada, June-July, from the day of Ekadashi called Shayana Ekadashi, in the fourth night of the waxing moon. Sometimes it can be started on Ekadashi, sometimes on full moon. So, like generally, we usually follow full moon, but here Prabhupada is saying Ekadashi. The period ends in the month of Kartika, October-November, on the Ekadashi day known as Uttana Ekadashi, in the fourth night of the waxing moon. So it can be done in two ways, starting on Ekadashi, ending on Ekadashi, also for the Kartik Vrata, or starting on full moon, ending on full moon. This 4-month period is known as Chaturmasya. Some Vaishnavas also observe it from the full moon day of Ashada until the full moon day of Kartika. This is what we do in ISKCON normally. That is also a period of 4 months. This period, calculated by the lunar months, is called Chaturmasya, but others also observe Chaturmasya according to the solar month from Shravana to Kartika. The whole period, either lunar or solar, takes place during the rainy season. Chaturmasya should be observed by all sections of the population. It does not matter whether one is a grihasta or a sannyasi. The observance is obligatory for all ashramas. The real purpose behind the vow, the vow taken during these 4 months, is to minimize the quantity of sense gratification. And then there is another one, let me see, where the fasting is. Okay. It's another purport, Madhya, chapter 4, 169. Okay, it continues. This is not very difficult. In the month of Shravana, one should not eat spinach. In the month of Bhadra, one should not eat yogurt. And in the month of Ashvina, one should not drink milk. One should not eat fish or other non-vegetarian food during the month of Kartika. Of course, we do not eat such things, never, but there are some vegetarians which are considered like meat sometimes. A non-vegetarian diet means fish and meat. Similarly, Masura dal and Urad dal are also considered non-vegetarian because they have too much protein. These two dals contain a great amount of protein, and food rich in protein is considered non-vegetarian. On the whole, during the 4-month period of Chaturmasya, one should practice giving up all food intended for sense enjoyment. So this is Srila Prabhupada's instructions. And Prabhupada says this is not so difficult, so we should make a plan to follow to the best of our ability. Is that okay? Does this answer the question? Any other questions or comments? Of course, here you may need to arrange with the cooks. Sometimes in the temple, when somebody else cooks, that has to be spoken to the cooks otherwise. Or if you offer the product to the deity, somebody who is not following Chaturmasya should take it. You are going to throw the Mahaprasad. So Just all these things need to be taken into account. Like the Paul.
She has a question. She heard that one day in the lecture she heard that the time of death, when you remember Krishna, then you will go to this form of Krishna, to this deity you worship most, you worship during your life, and that mood or to that deity or something, you will come. Can you confirm this?
Yes, this is mentioned in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Lord Brahma, in his prayers, says that, my Lord, you become revealed to the devotees in the particular form of God they cultivate love for you. If you want to look into we can look maybe in the database. This is a good use of the devices. You can go if you like. Third Canto, chapter 9, text 11. Lord Brahma is praying for creative energy. No, I got it. 3:9:11. Yeah. Just 1 second. We go back with this. You have it there? We can sing it if you have it. It is like Brahma Samhita melody. Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita ritsaroja. Aseshu tekshita pato nanunata pumsam. Yat yat vijata urugaya vibhavayanti. Tat tat vapu pranayase sadanugrahaya. The translation of the verse prayed by Lord Brahma is, O my Lord, your devotees can see you through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing, and thus their hearts become cleansed, and you take your seat there. You are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest yourself in the particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you. So yes, that's the answer. Whatever form of Krishna you remember, then at the time of death, Krishna becomes manifest in that particular form. Okay? Good. Okay, I think now it's time we may be meditating the form of Krishna as prasadam. Krishna will become manifest in the form of prasadam. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Holiness Yadunandana Maharaj ki jai.
Samveta Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.